Ed was the head of the Seattle Urban League and a tremendous leader. There were tough issues: school busing, anti-discrimination laws, redlining. Ed faced them all. He was honest and he was square, but he was assassinated one January night in 1969. He was only 39 years old. A tremendous leader of our state. We still miss him today. But this park brings back memories, and today we can see those young people playing together, learning together, and hopefully building a better life for our state. This truly is one of my favorite places.
I still see people on the sidelines. Come on over. Thank you, thank you. We're going to get started in just a few moments. Thank you all. Who's got another chant for me?
El pueblo
Unidos
jamás será vencido.
El pueblo
Unidos jamás será vencido.
El pueblo
Unidos jamás será vencido.
El pueblo
Unidos jamás será vencido.
Give me another one, be serio. Give me another chant.
Aquí estamos y no nos vamos.
Aquí estamos.
Y no nos vamos.
Aquí
Estamos y no nos vamos.
Aquí estamos y no nos vamos. ¡Woo! Who's got another one?
Nosotros aportamos.
Start me out. Nuestro estado. Okay, I'm going to give you the mic.
Nosotros soportamos a nuestro estado.
Nosotros aportamos a nuestro estado.
Nosotros apostamos
A nuestro estado. Nosotros apoyamos a nuestro estado.
Nosotros
Apoyamos a nuestro estado.
nosotros
Apoyamos a nuestro estado.
Okay, let's do one more. Who's got a chance? Make one up on the spot.
Familias unidas jamás serán vencidas.
Familias unidas.
Jamás serán vencidas.
Familias unidas.
Jamás serán vencidas.
Familias unidas.
Jamás serán vencidas.
Familias.
Unidas. Jamás serán vencidas.
It's getting hot in here. All right, I think we're gonna get started here. Thank you all for attending this event and for all of the actions that you'll continue to take after today as we stand up for immigrants, refugees, asylum seekers, and ensure that we are making progress and not going backwards.
All right, everyone. Getting close, getting close.
Buenos dias. Good morning to you all. Buenos dias. I am Miguel Maestas, Associate Director of El Centro de la Raza, which we translate as the Center for People of All Races. And we are honored to have you here at the Centilia Cultural Center. This center Centilia is a name in the Nahuatl Aztec language that means to join together, to become one. And on behalf of our Executive Director, Estela Ortega, who sends her love and her apologies for not being able to be here today, and everyone here at El Centro, our entire El Centro family, we warmly welcome you all here today. Mil gracias to One America for bringing us together. We are more powerful together. As you know, El Centro de la Raza was founded over 52 years ago through a peaceful occupation of the school building right across the plaza. A peaceful occupation of that abandoned school building where our founders said, we are going to create a place to have so our community can have a voice, so that we will not be invisible, so that we can build our community, build political power, and struggle to create a place for unity in our community. That struggle over 52 years has continued thanks to so many people here at El Centro de la Raza who have contributed so much over so many years. Today we have 43 programs and services to serve our community. We will continue to serve and defend our immigrant and refugee communities to our utmost ability, continuing to help in providing services, to providing emergency planning, to uniting with our partners so that we are coming together to educate and organize our communities. This building, Plaza Roberto Maestas, is a beautiful example of bringing together elements like affordable housing, economic opportunity, childcare, community and cultural space, and it is a way in which we have continued to build community to say that all people, including our immigrant and refugee communities who contribute so much to our economy, who were there, who were the essential workers during COVID, who kept us fed, who kept working in the hospitals and working in those essential jobs, have the right to dignity and a right to be part of our society. In closing, I want to thank you, Governor Ferguson, Attorney General Brown, our other leaders and elected officials that are here, and One America for your leadership. We stand together with our friends and allies, committed to organizing and building our collective strength to keep families together, to inform and educate and defend our beloved communities. Thank you so much. Mil gracias.
Thank you so much, Miguel, for welcoming us to this space at such an important moment. El Centro de la Raza has always been about the power our community has to stand up and fight back. And here we are again, facing a federal administration that is attacking our communities. So we will use every tool at our disposal to defend and protect. That's right. That's right. My name is Roxana Neruzzi, and I am the very proud Executive Director of One America. I am a first-generation American, a very proud daughter of immigrants from Iran who lost their home over 40 years ago due to political unrest. And 20 years ago, I found my home and voice in the immigrant rights movement. And like El Centro, One America was born out of resistance. Our organization was founded following the 9/11 attacks in 2001. Then called Hate-Free Zone, our communities were fighting back against a rise in Islamophobia and targeted attacks that left immigrant and refugee communities feeling vulnerable and afraid. And that's not right.
No, never.
We should all feel safe in the communities we call home.
Yes.
And that is why immigrants and refugees from this community together, all of you, established One America so we could have a place to organize together and create a future where we all thrive.
Yes. Yes.
Because what do we do when immigrants are under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
That's right. What do we do when immigrants are under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
Now, almost 24 years later, our communities are still under attack in some of the most vicious and cruel ways we've seen to date. Over the last week, the Trump administration has enacted destructive executive orders that aim to strip our rights and harm all Americans. Trump's plans for mass deportation, mandatory and indefinite detentions, and the dismantling of our immigration system is not just a moral and humanitarian disaster, it's also an economic catastrophe that will spare no one.
That's right.
They will separate families, endanger our public safety, hurt local communities across the country, and damage industries like agriculture, dairy, construction, home care, nursing, and many, many more. While Trump and his billionaire allies line their pockets, American families are drowning in impossible choices: rent or groceries, medicine or utilities. And now, for some families, it's about making a terrifying calculus every day. Is going to work worth risk of detention? Is a church, hospital, or school visit worth being separated from their children? The real threat to our country is a system that forces hardworking families to choose between survival and safety. But here's the thing, we've been here before and we are ready. This time, we will not only organize and stand up, but we will also fight for what we need to make Washington the best state in the country for all of us. Yes. And that's no matter where we come from, the color of our skin, or our immigration status. Despite the agenda of our anti-immigrant federal government, together we are ready to fight for what will keep immigrant communities safe here in Washington. We will build a blueprint for the rest of the nation of what's possible when we value, support, and invest in immigrant communities.
That's right.
Policies like including immigrants of every status in our social safety nets. Ensuring our democracy is fair and representative.
That's right.
Taking the burden off of our tax system so poor and working class families can afford things like childcare. And most importantly, using every tool at our disposal at the local and state level to ensure immigrant communities are protected. One America, along with so many of our partners here in this room and out in the world doing hard work, we're built for moments like this. And we are more prepared than ever to defend our people, and we won't back down. We know what we are up against, and we have a vision of what we are working towards. A vision of a thriving home for immigrants where we are equal, valued, and loved. So, no hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here.
No fear.
Immigrants are welcome here. That's right, and that's what we're here to say together with our community and our incredible leaders in Washington State who will stand with us. So now I have the honor of introducing Governor Bob Ferguson, a fierce defender of immigrants throughout his career. Just last week, the Trump administration announced that they would allow ICE to enter churches, hospitals, courts, and schools and child care centers, like the one we're standing across from at El Centro. I was very proud to be a part of the Project 2025 task force led by King County Councilmember Jorge Barón. We provided recommendations to help our state prepare for this moment. The governor, along with new Department of Children and Family, the new Department of Children, Youth and Families Director, Tana Sen, are here to stand with us and to announce one of the recommendations that will be put into effect to address the impact of family separation. Please welcome the governor and
Thank you so much, Roxana, and thanks. You mentioned you and my apologies. You and Councilmember Barón. Sorry about that. Where's Jorge? I know he's got to be close by. So thanks you both. So just so folks know, that was during my transition time after getting elected, but before taking office, we've built a transition team, and those two individuals co-chaired a committee looking at Project 2025 and how Washington State can be prepared for what might be coming. So the two of them led a team that made recommendations. We'll be talking more about that in a moment. And Tana has a key role, as you might imagine, in state government, so we so appreciate her service. So I'll have a few remarks. Tana will have a few remarks. Then I'll be signing an executive order. Before I do that, though, I also want to thank El Centro for hosting us once again. I'm mindful, as I was driving here, that we've had some wonderful events here. We were here to stand up for Dreamers during the last Trump administration. Many of you were here. And we won that fight, right? We won that fight. We are here to stand for farm workers in this very room. Just a couple of years ago, many of you are here for that. We won that fight for the rights of farm workers and many others. So it's great to be back, and thank you again for all your work. First, I want to say, I was proud that, when Donald Trump was first elected, the first state to stand up to him and defeat him in court was Washington State on the first vote ballot. And I was proud to lead a team in the AG's office that brought that case and won that case. I was equally proud that the first state to stand up to Donald Trump and take him to court and beat him in court was once again Washington under the leadership of our new Attorney General, Mitch Franklin. That issue, of course, is on birthright citizenship, and the team in the AG's office does fantastic work. I just mentioned those two cases because, sort of above all else, I want to communicate to the people of the state of Washington, who I know are feeling a lot of things right now. is we have a state of leaders at the local and state level who are very, very committed to defending your rights and upholding the values of all Washingtonians. We've been first in the past. We're first again. We'll stand up for your rights. We'll protect your freedoms. That's central to who we are, and we'll continue doing that. We're also mindful that with the AG's office, we're able, when the president oversteps his authority, you can be sure Washington State will stand up and take him to court and win almost every single time. We're also mindful that presidents have a lot of authority. They do. And they can do things that are lawful that we strongly oppose and that go against our values. We also need to prepare for those events as well, to minimize the impacts to Washingtonians when a president does something that may be lawful but goes against our values. And one thing I want to talk about is the potential for mass deportations, which of course has been central to Donald Trump's campaign and of course what he's been saying since he became president. He was clear about his intentions, so I want to be clear about the impacts if that were to happen. It means ripping families apart. It means kids losing their parents. It means business losing their workers. It means communities being significantly altered. We need to be prepared if this were to come to pass. So today I'll be signing an executive order after Tana says a few words directing the immediate creation of the Family Separation Rapid Response Team in the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, which Tana Sen heads up. And I appreciate the work of the co-chairs of that committee in the transition, making recommendations like this to me so we can move quickly and be prepared as a state. The goal of this team is to address the harms caused by President Trump's immigration enforcement policies. Look, we have other speakers who will address this, but the harms are obvious. And the word harms is really not even the right word, right? It goes beyond that, right? But the harms caused by those will be profound for many, many families potentially, and we need to be prepared. So we're going to uphold our core values as Washingtonians, and my administration will do everything we can possibly do to address those significant harms that are caused by those policies. That's making sure that kids who are torn away and separated from their parents have someone to care for them, and they have uninterrupted access to their education. The team I'm creating today will include professionals from DCYF, from the Washington State Patrol, the Office of Refugee and Immigrant Assistance, the AG's Attorney General's Office, and representatives, of course, from my office as well. The members will be consulting with regional and local experts on immigration and child welfare to develop policies that support children who experience family separation through the deportation or detention of their parents or their caregivers. They will be having their first meeting no later than February 14th, and I expect much sooner than that. Broadly speaking, the team will look for ways we can improve agency policies and procedures to help us respond to and support families who are separated. Look, it's worth noting, a dozen years ago, it would have been unimaginable we'd be having this conversation. Let's be clear, right? So even a state like Washington isn't necessarily prepared for something like this because who would imagine we'd be at this place? So it's important for us to go through our procedures and think about it from a lens of what actually is happening now to make sure we are doing everything we can to be ready for what might be happening. We'll also be connecting with the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction and local school districts to develop strategies to minimize disruption to kids' education. That includes making a plan to respond if a student's parent is taken while a student is in school. I will be directly involved in this, so I can assure you I have a great team. They'll be advising me on a regular basis. My first meeting this morning, after I got up, was about these issues, so they'll be in regular contact with me as we move forward. I'm going to turn this over to Tana Sen, who will say a few words, and then I'll be signing this executive order. Thank you very much.
Good morning. It's a huge honor to be standing here and I'm so grateful to thank Governor Ferguson for making this one of his first actions to make sure that we're protecting families across Washington State. The entire mission of the Department of Children, Youth, and Families are to keep children safe, to reduce unnecessary separation from family, and ultimately reduce any trauma. And we are standing ready and waiting to work together with agencies across Washington State to make sure that children in mixed status families are protected, are supported when their parents or primary caregiver are deported or removed from our country. And I just want families to know and to feel rest assured that if that happens, your child will be safe, will be cared for, and will be loved here in Washington State. And I want our youth to know that as well. This is important. We care for you. We want to reduce any trauma, and we will take care of you because that is what Washington State does. That is what the Department of Children, Youth, and Families does. And that is what we are telling all of you today, that Washington is standing strong together on the local level, the county level, and the state level to protect families and children in Washington State.
Let me get this out of your way.
Thank you, Governor Ferguson.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Look forward to working with you.
Governor, can you fold up the executive
Oh, my
order?
apologies. Sure, I can do that. Let's see. I guess I gotta learn how to do this. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much again, Governor Ferguson and Director Sen, for your leadership. I know we all feel not safe, but a little more security knowing that we have leaders like this in our community.
Yes.
So now I have the great honor of welcoming Senator Rebecca Saldana. Getting some love in her district. I know. We love Rebecca. Okay, and also together with Rebecca, our state senator, Julio Cortez. Together, these two incredible leaders co-chair the Latino caucus in our state legislature. And are not only leaders from and for our community, but longtime fighters for immigrant justice and protections and defense in the state legislature. Let's give them a warm welcome.
Yeah.
Buenos días. Bienvenidos a the 37th Legislative District. Welcome. This is your home. In the 37th, the world calls home.
Yes.
And my whole life, we have been fighting and standing up for immigrant rights and for a reform to the broken immigration system.
That's right.
And we will not wait for the other Washington to get things right.
No.
So as we live in a time when national rhetoric fosters fear and division, leaving those who contribute so much to our country feeling uncertain and unseen, here in this Washington, we reject divisiveness.
Yes, we do.
We stand for justice,
Yes.
equity,
Yes.
and believe in the power of our community. Immigrants are part of our backbone of our economy. We recognize our indigenous brothers and sisters.
That's right.
And recognize that many of us have indigeneity within us.
Yes.
We were here before there were borders.
Yes.
And the immigrants that are here new today, they build our homes, harvest our food, and care for our families. Yet they remain excluded from critical protections. That is not fair, it is not just. And that is why for this year, I will introduce again wage replacement bill, which addresses this inequity head on. For years, undocumented workers and their employers have been paying into Washington's unemployment system. Over $400 million in the past decade, without ever being able to access those benefits in their communities.
That ain't right.
This bill ensures that when these workers lose their jobs through no fault of their own, they can rely on the safety net their labor has funded. This is about more than economic security. It's about a dignity and fairness.
That's right.
During the pandemic, we were all calling immigrant workers essential. They worked while we stayed home.
Yes, they did.
But too many were left without protections. And this legislation corrects those wrongs and strengthens our communities. Because we know when we invest in people, when we value every worker's contribution, we create a stronger, fairer Washington and democracy for everyone. And that is why I'm so proud and excited that Representative Cortez will be sponsoring the companion bill in the House. And I'll pass the mic to him.
Hola, buenos días, mi gente. ¿Cómo están? ¿Bien? ¿Con ganas? Va, órale pues. I'm State Representative Julio Cortez from the 38th Legislative District, and honestly, it's an honor to be among so many colleagues who share a united vision to uplift and protect our immigrant communities. My parents are Mexican immigrants, Guadalajara and Morelos. I'm a Mexican immigrant. I'm from Mexico City, Chilango. So my parents worked as immigrant farm workers in the fields of Wabato and Yakima, picking everything from apples, pears, cherries. So this is very, very personal to me. My colleagues in the legislature and I are ready to work with other electeds to make sure that we are ready to protect our immigrant communities right here in Washington State. We are identifying gaps between state and federal immigrant supports as we speak, and we are and will continue to meet face-to-face with our immigrant populations and communities to make sure that we are hearing directly from them, to make sure that we know as a legislature, as their representatives, because we represent them as well, what to do to support those communities. Through intergovernment collaboration, the door to federal overreach and marginalization will remain closed. We've been at these crossroads in history before, so I can assure you, and I want you all to hear this, we will rise to meet this moment again. It's who we are. It's what Washington State is. From passing the Keep Washington Working Act in 2019 to securing millions in funding for immigrant relief, we will stand firm against any incursion. Governor Ferguson, this executive order sends a clear message, and I truly hope that our federal partners and our neighbors hear us. We will not be silent. As Dolores Huerta once said, walk the street with us into history and get off that sidewalk. Gracias y echarle ganas.
Thank you so much to our incredible state representatives and senators. Keep dropping that. Thank you for inviting us to get off the sidewalk and to join the movement. Now, I'm so honored to have the opportunity to invite Washington State Attorney General Nick Brown to share the powerful actions he has taken, and not just taken, but won.
Yes.
In the first week to defend the rights of all of us who call Washington home. Let's give him a warm welcome.
You did it.
Welcome. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to One America and El Centro for gathering everyone here today to talk about some of the most pressing and important issues that we have here. And thank you to everyone who came out to participate, to make their voice heard, to show up and to support all of the people that you're hearing from today. When I took office 12 years ago, I made an obligation to defend the United States Constitution and the laws and Constitution of the state of Washington. So last week, when the president tried to change the Constitution by his own and redefine what it means to be an American in this country, acting like a king, ignoring our democratic process, we could not let that stand. And Washington State was proud to remind the nation that we are not afraid to defend our values and our people and uphold the Constitution. We were able to stop Trump's unconstitutional birthright citizenship order for now. And we will continue to protect and defend the rights of everyone in Washington over these next 4 years. But the challenges are serious and daunting. We have a lot of work ahead. Our office is closely reviewing all of the president's actions that infringe on our sovereignty and harm Washington's residents and our most vulnerable populations. We are working collaboratively with attorney generals all across this country, and the Washington State Assistant AGs are helping state agencies to guide their staff and the public on what we know and what their rights are. There will be many attempts over the next 4 years to divide us. But in Washington, we will be united by our values and defend Washington law. We value immigrants. We value refugees. We value asylum seekers. And we value opportunity for all. And most importantly, we value justice. And we will stand for justice. And we will fight back against injustice wherever it may arise. Washington State is a state where we work every day to make sure that no one's rights are diminished because of their race, their ethnicity, or their immigration status. And our team, as Governor Ferguson said, has some of the best experience in the country doing just that. Defending the rights of Washingtonians, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from. And our team spent the past year preparing for this moment, reading and analyzing Project 2025. You should have faith that in Washington State, we will do everything that we can, that our government is still a force for good. And with your help, and we will need your help, we are ready to defend the Evergreen State. We will help any community. Today, the immigrant community is being targeted by a lawless president who stokes hate against each other and marginalized communities in particular. Tomorrow, it will be someone else. The last thing I'll say is that all of us have a role in this fight, and we have to be here for each other during these times of uncertainty. Let's all take care to make sure that we are there for each other. Let's work in our communities. Let's parse out truth from fiction and misinformation. The choices that we make to serve each other today can help Washington for years going forward. Thank you very much.
All right, all. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
Yes, that's right. Thank you to Attorney General Nick Brown again for reminding us that we have a role in protecting and defending our democracy and doing everything in your power to ensure that this administration does not violate our rights. And now, thank you, kiddos, for being here. We have the El Centro de la Raza. This is what we're fighting for. And now I would like to welcome a fierce leader from the Washington Bus. Let's give it up for the Washington Bus. The Washington Bus, led by my dear comrade, Cynthia, who's here today, organizes young people who want to make our state a better place and also fight for expanding our democracy. Let's please welcome Gloria Gonzalez Zapata. Gloria.
Buenos dias. My name is Gloria Gonzalez Zapata, and I was born and raised in Seattle. My parents are immigrants. My dad is from Mexico, and my mom is from Panama. I consider both of those places home as well. I want to take a moment to thank the Washington Bus for inviting me to share my story. For those that don't know, the Washington Bus is the largest youth-led base building organization dedicated to building and harnessing political power and leadership among young Washingtonians. They invested in me as a fellow in their summer fellowship. The 14th Amendment is enshrined in our Constitution to ensure that no politician can ever single-handedly decide who among us is worthy of citizenship. President Trump does not get to decide who is American enough to deserve U.S. citizenship. Birthright citizenship, the principle that anyone born in the United States is automatically a citizen, dates back to 1868. Excluding people born here would unfairly create a permanent underclass. People who have never known any other country may be rendered stateless. This order not only affects children born in the U.S., but also sends a harmful message of exclusion to others whose citizenship may be questioned because of their race or their parents' origins. Some of you may resonate with my story as a first-generation immigrant. Growing up in a Spanish-speaking, multicultural household, I immersed myself in my culture, watching Telemundo, Univision, listening to artists like Selena Quintanilla Perez and Juan Gabriel, and enjoying my favorite Mexican snacks, takis, which back then you could only find at the Mexican store. I felt proud to be connected to my heritage. Throughout my public school years, I overheard my classmates and even teachers comment on how bad it was that my parents taught me Spanish, or that I didn't know enough about U.S. pop culture. One moment that stands out is when my 5th grade music teacher scolded me for not knowing who the Beatles or Queen were. In situations like that, it's easy to feel alienated, sad, and even scared. But I was lucky. I had a small group of first-generation friends like myself. Some from Korea, India, Mexico, China, and Ethiopia, who shared similar experiences. We built strong bonds, navigating life in the U.S. while maintaining deep connections to our culture. Through this group, I found strength, support, and the opportunity to learn about different cultures and celebrate our differences. Much of the conversation around mass deportations and the birthright executive order has not had enough attention on the increased fear, isolation, and psychological tolls these policies will take on communities. If I hadn't had those friends who shared my background, I honestly don't know how I would have coped or what I would have felt. In recent years, there has been an influx of immigrants and asylum seekers to Washington, and I can only imagine how many of our community members have worked tirelessly to build a sense of belonging. That sense of belonging where people share a common understanding of hardship, strength, and resilience. This is priceless. It's where we find support, hope, and the collective power to push forward.
That's right.
That is what makes our community so strong and irreplaceable. I stand here today to send a clear message to all. No matter what race, immigrant status, or city we live in, we all deserve to be free from fear. We will not stand by while the Trump administration tries to strip away our constitutional rights. We will fight for birthright citizenship, for our communities, and for the future where everyone is truly equal. Thank you.
Let's give it up for the Washington bus leader. Thank you, Gloria, for sharing your story, for being here in community with us, and for really putting a face and a story to all of the policies that are tearing our communities apart. Before I introduce the next speaker, I'd like to acknowledge our powerful Congresswoman, Pramila Jayapal, who founded One America and who has been and continues to be a courageous leader of immigrant justice in Congress. Congresswoman Jayapal would have been here with us today, but she lost her father and is in India with her family. Our thoughts are all with her. And we are so fortunate to have another champion as part of our Washington State delegation. Please, let's give a warm welcome to our new Congresswoman, U.S. Representative Emily Randall.
Gracias por invitarnos aquí. I'm Emily Randall, and I am the newly elected Congresswoman for the 6th District across the water on the Olympic Peninsula. And it is incredible to be here and stand in community today, to be with colleagues and friends and neighbors in this Washington who know and recognize that we stand for welcoming communities.
That's right.
I didn't come from an immigrant family, but only because generations of my grandmothers grew up in New Mexico and lived there while the border moved across them. We come from this land, and my grandparents chose to move my dad and his family to Washington from Utah in order to find a more welcoming community to raise them in, to find economic opportunity, to work hard for their neighbors. And those values that they instilled in me are values that are in our immigrant community, that strengthen our neighborhoods, that ensure that our economy works better for all of us. And we recognize that here in this Washington, which is why we have passed policy that invests in education opportunities for all students, regardless of documentation status. It's why we've expanded Apple Health to ensure that everyone has the health care that they need when they need it. It's why we've worked hard to make sure that housing is more affordable for all of us, and that the folks who are building our homes are protected, and that they have access to a safety net too. In the other Washington, we have seen already that the Trump administration has tried to pit our communities against one another, tried to argue that mass deportations of immigrants will make our communities safer. Meanwhile, Trump has signed pardons for the folks who perpetrated a violent overthrow of our government. Targeting immigrants doesn't make our communities safer. What it does is spread fear throughout our communities, so that folks are afraid to go to work, afraid to send their kids to school, afraid to call the police when something happens in their neighborhood. We have to fight back against this fear. We have to do everything we can to ensure that everyone in our community is protected and safe and can build the future that they dream of. We have a big fight ahead of us in Washington, D.C., and I'm proud to stand strong with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus and the Democratic Party to fight for all of our neighbors. But I am counting on all of you here in this Washington to continue ensuring that our policies reflect our values, to continue protecting our neighbors, and to fight together for a future that's better for all of us. Gracias.
Another big thank you to Congresswoman Randall. Yes. We will be there, and we are also counting on you to stand up against anti-immigrant legislation. Now, I would like to introduce One America leader, Daniel Vingo, who will share how the executive orders limiting asylum affects him and his community directly. Daniel.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Daniel Vingo. I'm from Cabinda. It's Africa, part of Angola that's fighting for its own independence. And me and a lot of young in my country, Cabinda, we believe that Cabinda is not a part of Angola, and we've been fighting for that since 1975, even when I wasn't born at that time, but my dad was always telling me about the story about our land. And when I grew up, I started thinking different, that Cabinda is not Angola. In sense, when you think like that, you have a lot of retaliation from Angolan government. And I've been persecuted a lot of time, been arrested, tortured, and that's the cause that make me leave my country, because no one wants to leave countries, and I miss my family, all of that. And this week has been so very hard week for us. And when I decided to come to USA, I came here to Washington, and for real, I found a good place here in Washington. And I was in Riverton Park, United Methodist Church in Capuila. I want to thank Pastor Jen for opening the door. I want to thank Pastor Jen for opening the door for your church for us, the asylum seekers, to be in there. So I found peace, I found protection over there, and I make good friends. So after come here, apply for asylum seeker, apply for asylum, and it took me 150 days to get my work permit. After I got my work permit last July, and I started working. I was very happy. I was like, I'm at school, I'm studying at Seattle Central College, and everything is going pretty good to me. But things changed when the election happened and the result was that we were fleeing, and that's very hard for us, the asylum seekers. So since last week, we are afraid. We are not going out. Since last week, I can see people from my community calling me, hey, what's going on? I can go to school, I can go to the hospital, I can go to public transportation, all those kind of things. And it's really, really very hard. So I want to thanks for being here, stand with us for the asylum seekers, for the immigrant and documented. Thank you for being here. And I have this question, especially for 61 million that the budget that have to be applied for supporting asylum seekers. That amount is very important because we must keep investing in education, we must keep investing in housing, we must keep investing in healthcare for asylum seekers and immigrants. So thank you for terms of being here.
Daniel, thank you so much for sharing your story and reminding us how much so many of us go through just to make the journey to come to this country and seek safety, and also the importance of our state and local governments in supporting asylum seekers during this time. And now I'm so honored to have the opportunity to introduce City of Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell. Yes, let's give it up for the mayor. Mayor Harrell is here to share some of the important steps the city has taken to protect immigrants during this time. Let's welcome him.
Thank you, Roxanna. For the record, the brothers here is a little old. You got me standing up there for a while. I'm not as young as a lot of you folks. You know, when I try to do this organizational work, one of the first things I try to do is see, do I have a good team? Can I be part of a good team? I don't have to lead it. I don't have to follow it. I just want to be part of a good team.
Yes.
We have a winning team here. Let's make that clear. Congresswoman Randall, Emily said I could call her Emily, so I'm going to call Emily. The Governor, Ferguson, and Attorney General Brown and I stood with 4 of Emily's counterparts last night, where many hundred people were foreign born. And we had this kind of conversation. And I said, my message is very simple. We love you.
Thank you.
We love you.
Yes.
And all of our work, all of our tenacity, all of our teamwork will be centered around that value. So specifically, I want to talk about the city of Seattle. When the council, when I was a member of the council, we created the city's Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. And the first thing I could do when I become mayor is appoint a proven leader to lead this effort. And that would be Port Commissioner and Director Hamdi Mohammed right here. Right here. And One America leader. Let's look at the statistics a little bit. Over 140,000 Seattle residents are foreign born. More than 50,000 immigrant entrepreneurs call the Seattle metropolitan area home. In 2019 alone, immigrant spending power in this region reached an astonishing $31 billion. We are part of this community, and make no mistake about that, the data is very clear. Immigrants are part of Seattle's backbone, embodying resilience and innovation and frontline workers and leaders in tech and entrepreneurship and small businesses. This is what makes Seattle thrive. And when I talk about One Seattle, and no, I didn't copy the name One America, but One America embodies what we're trying to do right here in Seattle. So from our federal partners, Emily, to our state partners, to our county partners, and to our local partners, and to our community-based organizations, to you. Now, why did you all move to children? I get fired up when I see children when I give a speech. There was one here and they even moved it because that's who we're fighting for.
That's right.
We're fighting for this next generation. So this is a wake-up call here in America. When we see these federal government's policies play out in real time, And we have to understand the fear, the insecurity that this causes amongst everybody. And I don't know about you, but when I'm afraid of something, that's when I hit my knees. And I look at my left and my right. I look in front of me and back of me. And I hold hands. Sometimes I cry. But when all that's over, I know I have a winning team. And so if there's one takeaway from this beautiful effort, and I want to thank members of the press for telling this story.
Yes.
Because we're going to need you to tell our story here in Washington.
Yes.
That we are having meetings with the organizational groups. I think many of you have read about the order that we put out on the City of Seattle directing all of our department heads to be ready, to be prepared. To some extent, we have to be reactionary. To some extent, we have to be proactive. It's just like the fires that happened down in the Los Angeles area. As mayor, we are preparing.
Yes.
Why? Because we have this team. So my departments, led under this fine young lady's leadership, and other members of my executive team, Greg Wong is here, Deputy Mayor. You have our commitment. It is as simple as that. You have our commitment. And the next time I address a crowd like this, y'all better have some children on the floor too. Because at the end of the day, we are fighting for the next generation. Thank you very much. My second act is, no, I'm just kidding.
Thank you. Okay. Mayor Harrell, thank you again. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for reminding us of the importance of leadership and teams in this moment, and also what we're fighting for. So our kids don't have to stand here and fight to defend, but can fight for what we actually need to thrive. Thank you so much. And now I would like to introduce Dora Poke, who is a powerful SEIU 775 member and One America leader, who will share her story. The immigrant rights movement and labor have had a long history of solidarity, which is now more important than ever. So let's welcome Dora to tell us a little bit about how we'll work together.
Hi, everyone. I'm not going to cry. It's so close to home. But my name's Dora Poki. I use she, her pronouns. I am an in-home care worker. My parents came to America to work the fields of Texas from Mexico. And once they became citizens, they set up roots, including having me. While I was born in Texas, I've lived in Tacoma, Washington for 30 years. I've raised my own children here. I have nieces, nephews, and I have grandchildren here. And then, when the Trump administration announced his attacks on our communities, it caused my anxieties to rise. I became afraid for all my family in Washington. You see, my husband is born in Mexico and is not documented. I worry that one day he'll go to work and not come back. He works. He's contributing to our economy and community. He's an abiding citizen. We pay taxes. We want that American dream. And I will not live in fear. I will not hide and stay quiet while the Trump administration is threatening my family and so many others. I know here in Washington, our immigrant families are going to be protected. So what are we going to do? We are going to get prepared. Let's know our rights. We need to organize, and it will take all of us to fight back against these attacks in our communities. Immigrants are the labor movement. Without us, what will happen to America? We are the cooks, construction workers, the caregivers, nurses, farm workers, and so much more. We are everywhere. When I am making dinner, I know there were hard-working immigrants, hands that help pick that vegetable, that lettuce that I was eating, that we're eating. America is eating from the hands that the Trump administration hates. We are the backbone of America and Washington. A thriving Washington includes all of us, no matter where we come from, the color of my skin, or our skin, or our immigrant status. We fight together to win. Soy mexicana y no me venzo. Gracias.
Immigrants are welcome here, no hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here, no hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here.
Thank you so much, Dora. And you are so right that together we can fight and we can win. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And now I'd like to introduce this district's King County Council member, Gurmai Zahilai. Gurmai is here to share a little with us about how the County Council will defend attacks against our immigrant and refugee communities and ensure we're all included in our county's safety net. Thank you, Gurmai.
Thank you so much,
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Roxana. This is such a beautiful and inspiring event. I leaned over to Graciela earlier and I said, oh my goodness, it feels like love in here. It feels so good in here. My name is Gurmai Zahilai. I'm the chair of the King County Council, and I'm so honored to stand here with all of you amazing people protecting our immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers who call Washington State home. This fight is personal for me. When I was 3 years old, my family fled persecution as refugees and settled down in South Seattle. South Seattle provided us public housing, public schools, public community centers, public support, all of those things that we needed to rebuild our lives. And this is not a unique story. It's the story of so many people who are in this room right now. It's not about the uniqueness. It's about one simple message. When the federal government fails to reflect our values, it's that important for state and local governments to step up. It's that important. Under the Trump administration's recent actions and rhetoric, too many Washingtonians are living in fear, living in terror, actually. Threats of mass deportations, ICE raids, attacks on our constitutional rights, cuts to funding for immigrant communities, those don't just harm the people who are targeted. They harm all of us. As chair of the King County Council, I'll work with incredible colleagues like Councilmember Jorge Baron, who is here. Like my team members, Graciela Nunez-Pargas, who is here. To ensure our local government remains a shield against these harmful policies. We will uphold the law with Keep Washington Working. Uphold the law. This is the law. Protecting immigrants from unjust enforcement. We will fight for and expand funding for social safety nets. And we will work tirelessly to ensure that everyone, regardless of their background, has access to the opportunities that they need to succeed. This moment demands bold leadership and unwavering solidarity. I'm so proud that we live in Washington State, this beautiful corner of our country, with strong allies in our governor, our attorney general, our mayor, One America, El Centro, so many organizations. Together we can make sure our home is a beacon of hope and opportunity. Thank you so much, everyone.
Let's give it up for Council Member Zahilai again. Thank you so much for your leadership and also for bringing so many of our electeds together. We all feel a little more hope today, don't we? Yes. And now we have just a couple more speakers left. I would like to introduce my comrade in the movement, Northwest Immigrant Rights Project Executive Director, Malu Chavez. Malu Malu is here to share with us how NERP and the immigrant rights community more broadly is preparing to protect and defend the rights of immigrants in our state.
Hi, everyone. I think that in hard times like the ones we're living, it's really amazing to be in community. So I thank you all for being here. And as mentioned, to the media for sharing our stories. At Northwest Immigrant Rights Project, we provide direct legal representation to community members across the state, free of cost. We advance and defend the rights of immigrants here in Washington State and across the country. And we also work on systems change, advocacy, and impact litigation. A guiding value of NERP and many of our partner organizations, many of us here today, is that no individual or community is more deserving of protection than any other. We all have the same access afforded, or we should have the same access afforded, the same opportunities to live free of fear, to work and thrive safely in this country. That's right. As you heard from many of the stories we learned from today, our communities are counting on our Washington leadership to step up and protect us against attacks our communities are already facing. It's been a long week of attacks and announcements eroding protections for members of our communities, the immigrant communities that I represent and my colleagues at NERP represent. I want to thank Governor Ferguson for the executive order to protect families and children from separation. I want to thank Attorney General Brown and his team for challenging the President's executive order to end birthright citizenship. Last Friday, Northwest Immigrant Rights Project also filed a related lawsuit from members of our communities, 3 of them impacted women. And part of that is because the federal government's already challenging standing, and we know that the work that we do with direct legal services is important. We've seen that Congress has voted for harmful legislation that, like the Lake and Riley Act, awaiting the President's signature. This is a bill that dangerously criminalizes immigrant communities and orders mandatory immigration detention. Detention without access to bond or bail hearing, and with no mechanism to release individuals for deportation. Right. Essentially ending access to fundamental due process. We're experiencing a federal administration that chooses to exercise its enforcement discretion inhumanely, an administration that's taking all steps necessary to go after our clients, friends, neighbors, and loved ones. The expansion of expedited removal to the statutory maximum. But we know that what remains important is that we continue to stay strong against these attacks and protect our communities. That we remember to exercise our constitutional rights, and that we don't fall for divisive rhetoric about who or what community is deserving of protection. We must defend all members of our immigrant communities. In Washington State, we have one of the strongest laws, Keep Washington Working, which ensures that state and local resources are focused on state and local needs, and that we don't allow the federal government to use our resources to do their job. Yes. It makes our communities safer because it makes the lines of responsibility clear. That's right. Washington State does not have a responsibility to enforce immigration laws. And in Washington State, we have strong partnerships. We have one of the largest immigrant rights networks, the Washington Immigrant Solidarity Network, a rapid response network that helps mobilize us into action. And we have dedicated state, local, county funding to provide legal immigration services to community members facing deportation or at risk of deportation. I want to invite you all to join us in advocating this legislative session to continue this funding for services to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Manu. Thank you so much for your leadership, for the role of the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project in standing up and defending immigrants during this time. And to all of the organizations in our community who have fought to develop infrastructure. Many of you may know we have a deportation hotline. There are a lot of rumors flying about ICE showing up in neighborhoods and in communities. If you suspect an ICE presence, please call the hotline at 1-844-724-3730. It's very important. We have a team, WISN has a team of trained folks that will go out and will verify and can document the interactions. This is very important. So thank you again to Malu for your leadership, and to all of our elected officials who are here today, many of them and leaders inside of our institutions who are from our immigrant movement, who have the lived experience of coming from immigrant families that are taking that experience into their roles and into their jobs and helping to build more justice for all of us. Thank you. And now for our final speaker, I would like to introduce a longtime One America leader who will share how the Trump administration's agenda is affecting her family and community. And I will also welcome one of our longtime partners here to help with interpretation as she'll be speaking in Spanish. Just want to say for the media, we are intentionally not using her name. Please recognize her as a One America leader, and really this demonstrates the level of fear right now in even sharing basic information. Thank you.
For your courage.
Thank you.
Buenos días a todos.
Buenos días.
Yo vivo aquí en Seattle y soy líder de One America. Yo soy inmigrante y vine a los Estados Unidos en el 2005 para apoyar a mis padres. Fue una decisión muy difícil porque yo me fui sin saber si los iba a volver a ver. Desafortunadamente perdí a mi madre y no pude estar con ella en los últimos momentos. Estos son los tipos de decisiones que enfrentamos todos como hoy, cómo vamos a ganar, cómo voy a ganar dinero para asegurar que mi familia tenga lo que necesita para vivir una vida próspera. Yo hice mi hogar aquí en Washington buscando mejores oportunidades para mi familia. Tuve mis 3 hijos con mi esposo y somos miembros muy activos de nuestra comunidad. En estos 19 años hemos tenido subidas y bajadas. No es fácil pasar del impacto del COVID, que COVID tuvo en todas nuestras vidas, enfrentar los ataques que están pasando ahora por este nuevo presidente. Mi hermana está apelando su asilo y ha sido un proceso largo, duro, y ahora el proceso está intentando quitarle los derechos a quienes buscamos seguridad para nuestras familias. Esto no es justo. Yo también soy voluntaria en la escuela de mi hijo. Desde que se supo que nuestra comunidad de refugiados y inmigrantes están sujetos a redadas y desafortunadas de deportaciones, el clima escolar ha sido de ansiedad y miedo. El personal escolar está preocupado y se siente importante ante las crecientes amenazas a nuestras familias. A mediados de diciembre, un padre de una niña de 4 años preguntó directamente: ¿crees que se llevarán a mi pequeña? No sabía qué decirle, tenía miedo por los dos. Ahora, como este presidente ha eliminado protección legales de espacios seguros como la escuela, nosotros estamos hablando de todo eso, de qué pasa si entra al edificio, a pesar de que supone que no debe dejar entrar cómo usar todos los mecanismos legales para que protegerlos. ¿Cómo podemos entender? Los niños de ICE suena loco, pero así es como se siente. Nuestros niños no deberían de tener que pasar por el trauma de tener miedo de ir a la escuela por las posibilidades que separen a sus familias. Pero por ellos, por mis hijos y por todas las familias como las mías, y yo estoy aquí. Yo soy líder con Guanamérica y en mi comunidad, porque yo no voy a tener miedo. Yo sé que yo y todos los inmigrantes somos poderosos y nosotros alzamos la voz todos juntos. Yo sé que podemos vencer cualquier ataque hacia nuestra comunidad. Al final, yo quiero pedir a cada persona de nuestro gobierno que se pongan la mano en su corazón y nos apoyen y que estén con nosotros y que luchemos para defender y proteger los derechos de los inmigrantes que ellos representan. Y sé que con el apoyo podemos. Gracias.
Hello, good morning. I live here in Seattle. I'm a leader with One America. I am an immigrant, and I came to the United States in 2005 because I needed to support my parents. It was a tough decision because I left without knowing if I would see them again. Unfortunately, I lost my mom. She passed away, and I couldn't be there in her last moments. These are the kinds of decisions we all face. How will I make money to ensure my family has what they need to live a thriving life? I made my home here in Washington, looking for better opportunities for my family. I had my 3 children with my husband, and we are very active members for our community. In these 19 years, we have had ups and downs. It's not easy to go from the impact that COVID had on all our lives, and now to face the attacks that are happening now by this president. My sister and brother have been appealing their asylum, and it's been a long and challenging process. Now, our president is trying to take away the rights of those seeking safety for their families. This is not fair. I also volunteer at my children's school. Ever since it became known that our refugee and immigrant communities are subject to raids and deportations, the school climate has been one of anxiety and fear. School staff are concerned and feel powerless in the face of the growing threats to our families. In mid-December, a father of a 4-year-old girl asked me directly, "Do you think they will take my little girl?" I didn't know what to say. I was afraid for both of them. Now, as this president has removed legal protections from safe spaces like schools, we are talking about all that. What happens if ICE enters the building, even though we are not supposed to let them in? How do we all use legal mechanisms to protect our children and families? How do we stand between children and ICE? It sounds crazy, but that's how it feels. Our children should not have to go through the trauma of being afraid to go to school because of the possibility of their families being separated. but for them, for my children, and for all families like mine, I am here. I am a leader with One America and within my community because I will not be afraid. That's right. I know that I and all immigrants are powerful if we all together lift up our voices. I know we can overcome any attack on our communities. Finally, I want to ask or tell each person in our government to put their hands on their hearts, support us, and stand with us, and to fight to defend, advocate for, and protect the rights of the immigrants they represent. Thank you so much.
Here to stay, 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 here to stay.
Thank you so much to our incredible One America leader for being so courageous by sharing your story. It takes so much courage, but it's so important that we know this fight is not just about policies and politicians, but about real people's lives.
That's right.
And I want to take a moment, thank you for reminding us about the fears of deportation. I want to say the hotline number one more time to make sure it's correct. If you have seen any ICE activity, know someone who is being held or anything regarding deportations, please call our deportation hotline at 1-844-724-3737. That can also be found on the Washington Immigrant Solidarity Network's website. Thank you again. In closing, I want to thank everybody for being here and standing together in this critical time. While we have so much in front of us, all of us together here today, from our elected officials to our community partners to labor, faith, and mostly all of us as immigrants and allies here in this room, is a testament to our strength and ability to not only stand up and defend, but ensure a brighter future with a true multiracial democracy for the next generation. That's right. So I'd like to end with powerful words from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When our days become dreary with low hovering clouds of despair, when our nights become darker than 1,000 midnights, let us remember that a creative force in this universe, working to pull down the gigantic mountains of evil, a power that is able to make a way out of no way and transform dark yesterdays into bright tomorrows. Let us realize the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our ancestors who have paved the way for us to fight, and we will continue to fight for the future generation. Thank you again.